Wow, that worked really well. So welcome, everybody. She said they weren't going to turn on my mic until she waved her hand, and she didn't. So welcome, everybody. I am Quinn Brooks-Ward, and I am here to help you understand whether or not your book is ready for Amazon ads. So a little bit about me, because why can I talk on this? So I like to say I spent the first 7 years of my career. The sanitized version is I used the Field of Dreams method. If I wrote the book, they would come. And it worked okay until it didn't. So in 2019, I realized that it was time to do one of two things, right? And one of them was to quit writing. So I'm like, all right, what are we gonna do? So that's when I started running Amazon ads. I started out as a student with Author Ad School and started running Amazon ads. And then in 2020, that wound up being my first six-figure year. And that was something that would not have happened. And I don't know if you know, but 2020 was a little bit rough for a few people, right? And so I had set a goal at 20Books in 2019 that by June of 2019, I wanted to leave my job. I'm sorry, everybody, if I caused 2020 to happen, but I was able to leave my job, and I was able to ask my boss, please let me go first, because I was already on track thanks to Amazon ads. And so now I've been working with Author Ad School, and I'm the senior advisor. I help out as one of the managers on our author ad agency, but then I also spend my days coaching students and helping them learn how to run ads. Excuse me, should have taken that lozenge. So just a couple quick notes. Your goals need to be what drives your decisions. When I'm doing my every week events, you will hear me say, I don't care about your thoughts and feelings. And what I mean by that is if your thoughts and feelings don't align with your goals, if they don't align with the data, it's time to make a change. And that's why I say if you're here to make money, if that's your goal, you have got to turn off your feelings as soon as that project becomes a product. And also remember that there are times that stop is actually making progress. If you are currently losing money and you stop to figure out where did I go wrong, all of a sudden you're making money. Not all of a sudden, but you know. And the other thing is, not every book is ever gonna be a shining star, okay? So why does optimizing your ads matter? So our ads are meant to help us find new readers. You have other ways to reach your existing readers. You probably have social media. You have a newsletter. They know your books exist. We run ads to find the people we don't know. The other thing is you have not earned their trust at this point, which is why you have to have a product that gives them that first kernel of trust, to take the chance to click on your ad, to take the chance to buy your book. And this is a really important one because it's one we hear often. Well, my books sell in person. You're not there explaining what this book is about, why they're gonna love this book, creating that emotional connection. This is essentially a cold call. And so we need to make sure that we get in the right spot. So what does it mean to be market ready? The first thing is your cover needs to fit the shelf. And what I mean by this is if you walked into Barnes & Noble, what shelf would they put your book on, right? Because if I wrote a wonderful romance, but my cover looks like a thriller, I'm gonna lose them. Your keywords need to be optimized because that's how Amazon knows where to serve your ads. Another big tip is that your sales page and your description need to sell the product, not tell the story. I don't need to know everybody's brother and sister. I don't need to know their jobs. I don't need to know their backstory. Your story is going to give me this. I need you to sell me the story. And another thing with it, with optimization, is making sure that you have verified your sample. I cannot tell you the number of times that somebody says, well, I looked at the file before I uploaded it. It's not good enough. You need to look at the actual file that Amazon is showing your readers, not only to make sure that the formatting, there wasn't a coding glitch, that when it uploaded, now your pages are like this big a font. We've seen it happen. You want to make sure that the writing is tight in that sample. You want to make sure you didn't load so much front matter, which is just loading my also by and my dedication and an explanation and an author's note and everything else. And so all of a sudden, my sample is like 2 pages, right? That's not going to be enough to get their trust. And then the other thing that I want you to do, and this isn't directly about ads, but anytime you are doing optimization, your back matter needs to be updated. You need to optimize that, because that, can we switch it? They don't need to see me right this second. In just like 10 seconds. After I get this little bit, then we can go ahead. So, optimizing your back matter, you remember how I said ads are for new readers? Because there are other ways for your existing readers. As soon as they open that book and start reading, they go from new to existing. And that's when they're going to flip over. And so your back matter needs to get them to your next book, where you'll lead them to your next book, and the next one, and so on. So let's start right at the top. And little disclaimer, any covers that I show today are my own books. It's not to say that I am the master and I have done everything right. It's more a matter of I'm not going to pick on somebody else's product. I didn't even have the courage to like call anybody who's made big changes and be like, hey, is it okay if in front of a room of people and streaming on Facebook and going on YouTube, I pick on your covers? So I just wanted to put that out there, that these are all mine. So again, this is your first selling tool. So what's wrong with this cover? We've got, in romance, it's common to have a setting. It's common to have the people. It's got the elements, but I'm telling way too much of the story. The other mistake that you may or may not see with this cover is it's homemade. And it showed in the conversion rate because it missed those hallmarks by this much. But just like if you're playing darts, as soon as you miss by this much, you go from a bullseye to a 1. And you're not going to sell. So this is a different example. This cover, when it came out, did incredibly well. It was my best release to date. I loved it. I put a lot of money into it. It is, you can see anybody, without even knowing, can see that this is going to be sports. And if you read romance, you know that this is a romance. The problem is, eventually, it went out of style. We no longer show the sports on the cover as much. The focal point is more on the romance. And when I say sunk costs can kill future sales, I mean it. I spent over $3,600 on the covers for this series. And so I didn't get rid of the covers for the longest time because I spent $3,600 on the covers for this series. The problem is the sales went away. And once the sales went away, what are you going to do? Hope it comes back? Run some ads on an off-market cover? Well, that didn't work when I tried it. So what did I do? I got a new cover. I let go of everything, including the pictures that I paid a whole lot of money for. It was a lot of money, guys. It was my spouse was not happy with me. But he was incredibly happy when this same series, as a relaunch, wound up being a third of that 6-figure year. So I could have held on to the $3,600 that was already well and gone out of my pocket and not made any money on this series, or I could reach a new market who hadn't read these books yet. because there were about 4 years in between the initial launch and the relaunch, and a whole lot of learning. And so making that difference, or making that change, made all the difference. So real quick, and I saw some people taking pictures, and that's why I did this. Cliff's Notes. Does that show my age? Anyways, you want to sell the story, don't tell the story at this point. That goes for pretty much everything on the sales page, but especially on the cover. I don't want you sitting there dwelling on these little details that take your cover from a bullseye to a one. Sometimes what you want and what you like in a cover is not what the readers want. And we hear this all the time. I don't like the covers that are on the bestsellers list. Well, is there a difference between you and them? Do you want to get where they're at? And so I'm pretty sure that most people in this room flew here. And so this is when I bring up this example. You're walking through the airport, but you just finished the book on your first flight. So now I need something else to read. As you walk past Hudson News, how long do you have to pick up a book? Not very long. And so you gravitate to certain things as a reader. You know that if you're a thriller reader, you're going to steer clear of the pink and the flowers and everything like that, because that does not signal my reader, right? That is not the story I want. And then standing out can be a good thing, but most of the time, standing out is actually sticking out, and sticking out is not good, right? Most of the time, if we're sticking out, it's because it's like, ooh, what was that? So keywords, and I stay heavy on the words, because this is one place I see a lot of authors get tripped up when they're in their early days. And by a lot of authors, I'm including myself. More than once on older books, I've been caught on screen shares with really bad keywords. And so I'm like, all right, let's see how to fix this, and I'll fix mine right now. So your readers are never going to see these, and that matters, because some of you write some content that there are words you cannot put on your sales page if you want to run ads. And everybody who has those words knows what words those are. There are times where language changes over time, and what is correct to use in a public setting might be ahead of what the readers are searching. A prime example of this, so I write gay romance. And in gay romance, there's a trope called gay for you. Except there's been a lot of discussion lately about how that may not be the best term to use. And so when we're talking to the public, we don't use that anymore. We will use something like a bisexual awakening, out for you, something like that. Your keywords are where you can still put gay for you, because the readers aren't going to see it, but the readers are still searching for that. And then without the metadata being fixed, you have a really big uphill battle. If your ads aren't serving, or they're serving the wrong targets, this is one place you need to look. Another thing is sometimes bigger isn't always better. So a lot of us probably have products like Publisher Rocket, and we go in, and I'm looking for that 50,000 searches a month. Okay, but 50,000 searches a month is great, but if it's on a term like contemporary romance, there are a lot of us who write romance that is contemporary and that is a good fit. It's a correct fit, I should say, but that doesn't make it a good fit. Prime example would be with my baseball series. If I put that in contemporary romance, there are people who don't want sports romance. But if I say contemporary sports romance, I've now brought the focus in smaller. If I say gay contemporary sports romance, I brought it in even smaller. And yes, the search results are going to show a much smaller number, but a smaller number on a more relevant term, meaning a term more likely to convert, is going to be far better than waiting in a sea that's the entire genre. The other thing I like to say is excuse me, this is the time to think like a reader. Amazon, on the KDP screen, it says something to the effect of, enter up to 7 keywords that describe your book. And that's exactly what authors do. Describe your book. It's not enough. So what I want you to do is take a break from being the author. This is the point I want you to get away from the computer completely, because I want you to think like a reader. How do you search for something, not necessarily books, because what I hear a lot is, well, I don't search that way. You're not your reader. How do you search for something when you go to Google and you need to know something? We probably all use Google. We don't just say this term. We would say how to do this. Or if you're looking for a restaurant to eat, if I went on the internet right now and I typed in restaurants in Las Vegas, the one I want is probably out there somewhere. But is the one that I want going to show up on page 1 or page 2? Or am I better off saying, what am I in the mood to eat tonight? And I'm going to say, I'm looking for a steakhouse in Vegas. Well, I'll tell you what, I kind of did that last night, and there are a lot of really good steakhouses in Vegas. Except for there are a lot of really good steakhouses in Vegas that are out of my price range. I saw one that it was like $100. I'd love to eat a $100 steak, but I don't think I can do that right now. So what if I narrow it down again and I say affordable steakhouses in Las Vegas? Now I'm bringing that focus in, and I'm going to get the result that I want. So here are some real-life examples of author keywords versus reader search terms. Ugly cry. That was one of my keywords, okay? On one of my early books, that was all the keywords said. Ugly cry. It didn't convert well, guys. I don't recommend that. But when I did the research, I changed that to gay romance, hurt comfort, because I went through, and the process is start brainstorming. If I put in, and so I first said, gay romance, high angst, gay romance, hurt comfort, romance, so on, and keep putting in terms that are similar, and I'll show more of this in the last example, but keep going until you find the best one, because it may not be the one that you think it is. Another one that we had was somebody used thriller novel. There are a lot of thriller novels out there. In this particular case, it was a thriller novel with a female main character. So when we were doing the research on this, we have thriller, female main character, female with a female lead, female protagonist. So you see how you start research or brainstorming, because what I'm trying to figure out is how is my reader searching for this book? Another one being romance with older characters. Again, valid, true, but it wasn't being searched very much. So when we were optimizing, we went a step further. This was shortly after later in life romance was introduced as a category, and now this is even more important because the changes Amazon made to the categories, you can pick 3, but they're back to, and they kind of gotten away from this for a bit it seemed, but they are back to using your keywords for the additional categories. It's one piece of the algorithm they use. Well, we want to get into later in life romance if it's a romance with older characters, and so we wanted that in there. But then that wound up being kind of a funky search term. It wasn't giving us the results we wanted, but we found that later in life second chance romance, because again, later in life romance is going to give a reader a lot of search results. And so the reader, just like me searching for steakhouses, the reader says, nope, too many. I'm going to put in what else do I want to know? What else will help me find the book I want to read? And that's your job as the author, is to help them find the book that they want. And this last one I told you I was going to explain a little bit. Adult relaxation coloring book. There are tons of people who use this in their titles, subtitles, sales page descriptions within the coloring book market. Except what they're using Why do you do adult coloring books? It's a relaxation thing. But what readers were searching was because we searched all sorts of things with relaxation, and it was just coming up blanks. And I'm like, wait, relaxation, relaxing. And I put that in, and it was on a Zoom call, and I saw my author's eyes widen. Like, I never would have thought of that. Like, but now we did, and so now we can use it. And so think of the synonyms. So again, here's your Cliff Notes for the keywords. Think like a reader. What are they going to type into the search bar? That's what you're going to put in your keyword boxes, not just something that's going to describe your book. Pull out your thesaurus. You don't have to do this literally, but think of the similar terms that people could be searching if what you want isn't what they are, if what you're thinking of isn't quite right. Feel free to go in. So for the same coloring book creator, we used fall, autumn, holidays, seasons, and go through and do all of these, take a look. If you don't have Publisher Rocket, you can still do this sort of research. Essentially what you want to do is put it in the search term yourself. Go into an incognito window, do the search term, and see how many results you come up with. Because you don't want something that only has like 20 results, because that's probably something that readers aren't necessarily searching for. But you also don't necessarily want something with 50,000 results. So go ahead and look at that. The other thing is, if you use Rocket, there's one thing that a lot of authors don't do that should absolutely be done. And that's after I hit the little magnifying glass to go ahead and see the stats and everything, hit that button again. It turns into like a little green hamburger. That's going to take you to your competition analyzer page. The reason that matters is because if I go to that competition analyzer page and none of the books look anything like mine, is that the right search term to use? Because if the search results all wind up being, and I actually had this happen, I'm trying to remember, it was book 4 in the Homeruns Series, in the baseball series. I used the term sweet spot. When we went to the competition analyzer, when I was doing research on somebody's Clean and Wholesome series, guess what book showed up when we searched for sweet sports romance? My book is not sweet. All right? It's not. It's not. But my book doesn't fit there. But Amazon, and it's easy to figure out how that happened. The title is Sweet Spot. It is a sports romance. And so it dumped it into that search result. So if I was searching keywords, I'm not going to use something like that if everything comes up squeaky clean, because that's just not good. Broader isn't always better. And then again, like I said, use your keywords to get into those other categories. And so I don't want you to do just later in life romance, or just, I know alpha male romance was just put in as a category. So you should absolutely be using alpha male romance, but what other tropes does your book have other than just alpha males? Is it an alpha male friends to lovers romance? Is it an alpha male workplace romance? So on and so forth. Get yourself into the category, but on top of that, get yourself the search term readers are looking for. So now the readers have clicked on your ad because you've got the great cover. Now they're at your sales page. So we're going to just work our way down from the very top. Does your subtitle fit the genre? And your title and your subtitle. I had a book that I did not use it on this because I couldn't find the cover. The title of it was Godsend, and it made perfect sense to me. It made perfect sense once you read the book. And you'll see that last point. I know I'm skipping ahead here. If it makes sense after they read your book, it's not right. Because again, we're selling the book. And I do have authors who will say, but it'll all make sense at the end. We're not at the end yet. We're selling the story. So I wound up changing the title of the book, relaunching it with a bad cover because I was still learning. So I put a new cover on it, which converted better, but not as well as I wanted it to. And it wasn't until I really took a hard look, because I love the cover, but I took a look at it with fresh eyes, and I had some of my team members take a look at it. They all said, "Is this paranormal?" Okay, so we screwed that up again. And so guess who's getting a new cover again? Because the title now, which it fits even before you read the book, is What Comes After. Because it is a second chance romance. What comes after fits, because what comes after he lost the love of his life. That can fit, but not with a cover that really, once they said it, it looks kind of a little bit paranormal. It looks like paranormal-ish, so it wouldn't sell as a paranormal cover either. But then go through your sales page, and I don't think, so with your blurb, and I didn't get this on here, with your sales page description, I want you to start with a strong hook. Again, you're selling the book, not telling the story. This is not the time to say, John Smith left New York and he went to the ranch and where he met Susie, the farmer's daughter. I don't need all this detail right now. Looking for a change, Joe leaves the big city and winds up finding a pleasant surprise, down on the farm. That's really bad. You can't fire me for that. Okay, I don't do blurbs, especially not like impromptu. But the thing is, all I want to do is get their eye from the cover over to the sales page, the description. And then throughout your description, you want to sell the story. No backstory. Raise the stakes, because raising the stakes is going to keep them going from this paragraph to the next one, to the next one, to, hey, go buy my book. And then we loop them, because I say, go buy my book, not with those words. Again, I don't do blurbs. I am the ads person with the company. But having a call to action at the bottom tells the reader, oh yeah, go click. So now they can go up, click the buy button, you've sold a book. And then again, just real quick, take a peek behind the curtain. Look at that look inside. And when I say where does your sample start, I mean two things. One is what page does it open to? Typically that's going to be the page immediately following the table of contents. But then also, where that starts, that look inside file is 10% of your book. That is not 10% from where it opens. It is 10% from the front of the book. So if I look down at the percentage when it first opens and it's already saying I'm at 50%, I probably need to go and look at my front matter and say, what can I get rid of? What can I move to the back to provide a bigger sample? And a lot of times authors like to say, but I don't want to give away too much of the story. Well, what if what got cut off is what makes them want to buy? The thing is, I can't necessarily, as much as we like to say, you need to hook people right on the first page. A lot of times that doesn't happen. But now if I give them the first 20 pages, it might happen. If I give them a little bit more, it might happen. So I want to make sure that I give them enough that if they read that sample, now they buy the book. And then the other thing is double and triple check. Typos, tight writing, things like that. There's nothing more embarrassing than when you go to check this and you open it up and all of a sudden there's a glaring typo. I had one that it was the first word. I had a typo in the first word of the first chapter. Okay? Again, did I mention I didn't really pay attention to what I was doing the first several years of the career? It shows. And now I'm not going to get too much into this because, again, this is not directly ads related. But how do you not pay for your readers in the future? Because that's what you're doing every time you get a click. You are paying for your readers, and that's okay. I like to say it's kind of like using a coupon at the store. The company is going to take a little bit of a hit on that, but it got you to buy the product, and that's what we're doing here. So while there's no magical way to make sure that we never have to pay for readers, really, for most of us, we have to work really hard at this. But when you're optimizing, look at that back matter. Are you getting them to the next book so that they can one-click? That is the hottest spot you have as an author. This reader just read to the very end of your book, which means one of two things. Either they probably liked the book, at least, somewhat, or they are really into torturing themselves. We like to think that most of the people who read all the way to the end of the book liked your book. And that means it's time to get them into the next one. Because I just read this book, I want another one like it. And if it's a series, I really, really want to read the next one. I need to know what happens. True story, my first ebook was the second 50 Shades book. And it was because I had a Kindle that I won at a giveaway. And I never opened because ebooks are stupid. Come on, you had that thought at some point. This was like way back, probably like 2010, 2011, that early in it. I was firmly in the camp. I want to have the paper book in my hands. I need to feel the pages. I want to smell the paper and the ink and everything else. It's the tactile. And then the dang book ended. And it was 1 in the morning. And I lived in a town of 3,000 people. It was snowing outside. Even if Walmart was open, I wasn't sure they were going to have it, but I was pretty sure that my spouse was not going to be on board with where are you going in the middle of the night. I need to go get the next book. Fine. I will pull out the Kindle. I will go buy the next book because you need it. And that's what you're trying to do. By the way, I have changed my view. I love ebooks. Ebooks are fun in multiple ways. They're fun as a reader and an author. But you need to, and even if you have a paperback, there are ways to do that with your paperback as well. But we're not getting into all that today. So then the other thing is, did you get them onto your newsletter? Because getting them onto your newsletter means I can reach out to you. And now I can get you excited about the next book because I'm going to tell you about something that went on with my writing. I'm going to give you fast-paced little snippets. Writing romance, I'm going to give you cliffhangery little snippets of intimate scenes. I'm going to get the excitement building so I can build pre-orders. And even if I don't do pre-orders, I'm building the anticipation so that when the book releases, now I've got the click. Now I've got the book. And that's what you want to do, is make sure that you're working to get these readers into your sphere. Quick dose of reality, and then I think we'll have time for some questions. Not every book in your catalog needs ads. Most of the time, unless it's a brand new release, I am only running ads to the first book in my series because my ads get me new readers. My back matter keeps my existing readers. It's not a sprint. I don't want you thinking that I need to have 1 million ads today, or even worse, a lot worse, I need to bid $1 per click because I need to make sure that I'm getting clicks. Well, if those clicks don't convert to sales at $1 a click, you're going to very quickly go in the hole. So what if you've done everything right and they're still not converting? This is where your book becomes not an entry point, and that's okay. That becomes what we call a backlist gem. It's a book. What comes after is actually probably in the long run going to be a better example of a backlist gem because, oh yeah, that book I also killed somebody on, I killed the love of his life on page in the prologue, meaning it's in the sample. Kind of broke that rule because everybody knows that's a rule with romance. And then run your ads, gather the data, look at what's happening. Are my ads converting? Am I in profit? All of that. Then you'll know, what do I need to do to improve things? So here, just because I totally glossed over it, if you want to download a guide about building better back matter, there's the QR code. And then when I got to that very last point and I said, data, and run your ads and then look at the data and you're all confused, in January, we'll be running the next 5-day ad profit challenge. And you can go ahead and join that if you go to authorsadvertise.com. So that's all I've got for you. And it looks like we still have time if anybody has questions. Awesome. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi there.
Oops, I have to get closer. So what would you recommend? Say you have a series that has historically sold really well, and I mean like six-figure well.
Yep.
And as it ages over time, the ads get less and less effective. What would you say would be like the first things you would look at a series that was sort of performing well and is now in a decline?
So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look to see how are my ads converting proportionately to my sales.
Yeah, I mean also on the data front. So like, you know, you look at your data and you've kind of got that
So
long tail
you
look.
are seeing that it's like
Yeah.
dropping off. So that you might want to, there are times when you need to refresh your ads, get some new targets. One of the first things I'll do is I'll try, the best sellers list is one of the best places you can go to get new targets. Because if you go to the best sellers list and click on the new releases, those books are less than 30 days old. They've got traffic going to them, so on and so forth. Try starting an ad to the bestsellers list, see if that gets it up and going. But while I'm giving that ad time to run and gather clicks, I'm going to be going, and I'm just going to go through this optimization. Can I see something? Is the cover that used to be working really, really well for me, is that now a problem? Is that now, has that fallen? And I know that that's painful, and I hate telling people that.
Yeah, because I'm definitely having that issue with my flagship series.
Yeah.
And I'm in a fairly rapidly evolving genre, which is lit RPG. So
Yes,
yeah.
and that's tough, and especially when you get into a lot of illustrated covers, it can be, I would look at making other changes, my subtitle, my sales page, my keywords, I would do those before I look. The cover is your last resort for a change unless you look at your cover and go, oh, I really messed that up. But so look at your sales page, see if there's things you can do there, revisit your keywords. Are there better keywords that I can use now? Are the readers searching for something different than what they used to search for? And just see if you can tweak those and kind of bring your ads back to life and bring your conversion back up. And if you can't, then you have to go a little bit deeper.
All right. Thank you.
All right?
Hi. Keywords. Is there a current recommendation on how many, are people still pushing as many keywords per line in as possible, or should it be just one?
So what I like to tell people is, you know the little poetry magnets that you can get for your fridge where it's like, you've got a bunch of words that you get in a box and you have to spend 8 hours pulling them apart? Keywords should be like that. I come up and I'm going to take these words and I'm going to make this keyword. And then you're going to come up and you can, out of those same words, make another one. Right? So like later in life, second chance romance. Let's go ahead and add in gay in there because I think I'd have enough characters. I could have gay second chance romance. I could have
on
later
the
in
same
life.
line.
Right, all in the same line.
Okay.
But that I can either get the full string or I could get later in life romance, later in life gay romance, later in life second chance romance, so on and so forth. And so you can, because an exact match means it's all of the words that are in there, but exact match is not necessarily the only match. There's also phrase, there's broad. And so get those words in there.
And it doesn't make any difference if you put periods after them or anything like that?
Don't put any punctuation or
Okay,
anything.
right.
And if you're running low on characters, look and see, do I have the word and, the, of, all of those filler words that when you're looking in a search engine get kind of called out?
Yeah.
Take those out first. That way you maximize the use of your box.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right.
Hello.
Hi there.
Can I just clarify, when you're talking about optimizing keywords, are you talking about the keywords for the ads themselves?
So no, this is your KDP keywords. Because
Okay.
at this point, we're talking getting ourselves ready to run Amazon ads. And what are we doing when our ads aren't working? And so that's one of the things you need to do is go and look at your metadata, get that all polished up, because that's going to help your ad keywords run better.
And can you use the same keywords that you use for your KDP keywords? Can you use those in your ad? Or
Yes,
is
you
that-
can.
Okay.
And so one thing I say with categories is if and this is when we could have 10 categories. Is this category relevant enough that I would put my book in it? Yes. then if I can target it, I should have an ad running to it. The same goes with your keywords. If this keyword is relevant enough that it's one of my top 7, it should definitely be in an ad. Because again, that's just going to increase your visibility. The other thing you can do is, you know all those keywords that you picked up while you were brainstorming, but they weren't your winners? If they're still good, why not put those into an ad? Because people are still searching for those terms. They just might not have been your top 7. And so you can use those, and that way it's not wasted work.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Anybody else? I am not dancing again. The camera is on. I'm not singing. I am not dancing. All right, well,
I missed a lot, but let me ask you, do you have any particular books or websites that you recommend people to go and study?
So as far as going and studying, not really, but I would definitely go ahead and sign up for the challenge that comes up in January. The cool thing with that is we go through all of this and we're there to help you. You know, we have a really active Facebook community Slack channel, and we can answer questions in there, and we look at screenshots at times and help you figure out what's going on. I did not pay her. I actually just met her the other day.
As someone who has not set up their page yet because they're publishing next year, do you have any, you said something about 7 keywords? Is that I can only give 7 words?
It's not 7 words. Remember when I put up that slide, I said heavy on the words?
Yeah.
The misnomer there is we see 7 keywords and we think 7 words. What they mean is 7 phrases. When
So
you go to
7
upload
phrases.
your book, you're going to have 7 boxes that you can go ahead and put keywords in. And each of those boxes, I don't remember what the character limit is on it, but you can go ahead and put various terms in there and everything so that you can go ahead and get strong search terms.
So it's 7 key
Right,
phrases.
so like later in life, second chance, romance, that's 7 right there. And that was just one of, that only counts as 1 keyword. All right, so they're about to bring out the cane and hook me right off the stage. So thank you everybody for coming and hanging out with me this afternoon.
All right.
Have a great one.